This is the dream world, and you are the dreamer dreaming. This is the dream world, and you are the dreamer dreaming. Where your mind is at is how you see the world, and how you see the world is where your mind is at. So, the world may appear as a solid, fixed reality, and in many ways it might be, but it's different to each person perceiving it, to each person experiencing it. It is different depending on the level of insight and understanding of consciousness, i.e. the level of consciousness that that person holds. So, this is why we do the spiritual work. This is why spiritual development is key. Spiritual understanding is key. Understanding of who we are as spirit is key, because the clearer our perception, the closer we are to spirit, the clearer our understanding of the world outside. Because the world outside is the extension of our consciousness seeing. And so spiritual development is not an aside from life, it's not another subject, another delineation or demarcation activity of life. Spiritual development is spirit is what is, and spiritual development is what allows us to come into spirit and allow spirit to hold our life together. It's like spirit is the love that holds all together, and without it things are fragmented and meaningless. Fragmented and meaningless, we may try and create meaning, we may try and work so hard to create meaning, to buy ourselves meaning, to accumulate meaning. And you can see how the operational systems of the world, it's in their interests to keep you locked into an understanding where you feel limited, i.e. to keep you locked out of understanding of who you are. Because if you feel limited, you are going to want to buy someone's product to make you feel better. You are going to want to work harder to prove yourself, to make yourself better, to make yourself feel better. Whereas if you know that you are okay as you are, and more than okay, if you know that you are pure spirit in essence, then what authority is there outside of yourself? Because what authority is there but God, but spirit? So when you know your truth, you no longer live by proxies, you no longer let anyone else stand between you and life, because you know you are life. You no longer need anything to connect you to life or to a higher expression of life, because you know you are that highest expression when you are aligned with that. And aligning with truth requires no external thing. It's your own process. Yeah, we can make use of external things. We can celebrate external things. We can, like buy a book, read a book that really resonates with you and helps you connect to your truth. That is useful. It's like material things can be useful. They serve a purpose, and either it's a functional survival purpose, which has its place, or it can point us back to ourselves, like a real amazing spiritual book, like, for example, The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle, can point us back to ourselves, but it's not the book that does it, it's ourselves that does it through the book. It's your experience. You expose your consciousness to that book. It's all consciousness, your consciousness experiencing. So knowing who we are, we kind of certainly don't disengage from the world, but we stop expecting it to do anything for us, because we know it's up to us to elevate our consciousness in order to be happy, because that's what essentially we want, a greater well-being. It doesn't mean everything is rosy all the time. We all go through the ups and the downs of a relative life existence, you know, but from a sense of wholeness, having a core of wholeness, we can ride the ups and the downs with perspective, knowing that we are not the up, we are not the down, we are the whole circle, the whole cycle, this one point of light which is everywhere. And we access it from within, because within is our deepest, closest interface to that. It is the place where we experience that I am, that we experience. We are that. And that's another beautiful book, I Am That by Nisargadatta. It's Non-duality, talking about, or discourses into the fact that we are not separate from what we seek. And what are the ramifications of that? You are not separate from what you seek. You don't need to go anywhere other than where you are. You don't need to go anywhere other than where you are. And if you already feel this truth, then you can understand that and see that, and that's all very well. But if you're struggling, if you're trying to get in touch with this truth and it seems to be eluding you, then that could be an annoying statement, you know. You don't need to go anywhere, you're already here. You might not feel like you are. So, in that case, presence to this moment, greater presence to this moment, seeing this moment as it is, taking away our labels, our layerings, stripping the layers of the metaphorical onion to get to that core of what? Core of nothingness, core of everythingness, core of life, the centre from which all else turns. So we talked about presence and the importance of presence, and so what is presence on a pragmatic, practical level? What does it look like? Well, it's noticing how you are. So if you just sit and you notice, like right now I notice, I've just eaten a bit of chocolate, so I notice remnants of chocolate around my mouth, funny feeling in my belly. My legs aren't quite relaxed because I'm sitting a bit awkwardly, but I feel alright, I feel okay. There's nothing wrong. This moment, I'm here. And I'm breathing. hear sounds. Some sounds I like, some sounds I dislike, but they're all just sounds, and if we can maintain openness to impressions that arise and fall away, then we can go beyond or seek beneath the preference of a limited ego and come to something else. But it all starts with this question, well, what do I notice? You might notice things outside of yourself, first of all, but then what do you notice within yourself? Do you notice any tension in your body? So it's the classic thing, if you're walking around with your shoulders near your ears because you're so tense, then you might not even be aware of it. It's only when you start to sort of scan your body with your own consciousness, your own awareness, and you feel this tension, and then it's like, then you have a choice. It's like, oh, my shoulders are really tense, maybe I can like drop them a bit. So, but until we shine light of awareness, light of attention, we're not going to change. And so spiritual development is noticing what is here and now. And it may be that that tension is there, and it's like, oh, I really want to get rid of this tension, but don't know how to. It might just be there. And noticing it might be enough. And you don't need to force anything else. Just notice what's there, and in time, the noticing, the giving attention and awareness to what you feel, you'll start to look into those mechanisms of your feeling, the mechanisms of, oh well, I notice my shoulders are up here when I get angry with someone, or I notice my shoulders are more relaxed if I sit down to have a cup of tea rather than stand up. You know, it's like these little things that we notice enable us to change the way we are. If we don't notice anything, we're never going to change. We're just going to continue the way we are on this sort of momentum that we've taken, or consciousness is taking through us. So in aligning to presence, or rather in becoming present, we are aligning to presence, and presence is all that is. So the more we notice, it's okay, so I notice these feelings in my body. Oh, it's interesting, I call it my body. So it belongs to me. So if it's my body, then I'm not the body belongs to me. What is me? Oh, me, me. I am that person with that role and that family in that house, on that street in that country, with these habits and preferences. But actually, what am I before all those? What am I before I've put layers, before I've layered myself up with those labels to create, to construct an identity? What is my identity beyond that constructed identity? And it takes time. Well, it takes no time essentially. It takes presence, but presence often deepens over time, and this is the journey. Going away from presence, forgetting all about the inner realms and just going into external expression, and then feeling the limitation of that and coming back to a deepening presence over time. And presence starts to pull you towards it as you become present. And presence, if we're talking about the essence of all that is, pure consciousness, well, that's like, it's not dependent on time. It is independent of time. You can come back to it now, because now is where presence is. So it's interesting that we all have goals, we all have things we want to work towards, but how do we get to our goals? Often we strive to be to that place we want to reach. Often we're striving to reach our goal. And yeah, there's effort needs to be put into reaching a goal, definitely. But it depends on the nature of the goal. It might be a very practical, pragmatic sort of goal. But in terms of spiritual development, spiritual understanding, if deeper presence is the goal, then how do we reach that? Well, we have to live the goal now, because we're never going to get more present in the past or the future. You get it? It's like presence is now. It is where the past and the future would appear to meet. Presence is now. So saying I will be present in the future is effectively saying I'm not going to be present, because when it comes to that decision, all there is now. Now is where presence is, and now is where you have the opportunity to be present. And in noticing what is happening in our body, we are, or in our mind, or in our breath, we are becoming the goal. We are becoming presence. In being present, we become presence. And in yoga, people may be unhealthy, may be unfit, and they come into the class and you can see they want to be fit and healthy straight away. And they want to be relaxed. They want relaxation on some level to be there straight away, and it can be, but it's more a mental attitude we bring to it. So if you can give up striving, give up your goal, and let your goal be the present moment. So if you can be with what you feel, however difficult or pleasant it is, if you can be where you are, then you are aligning to the presence that you are. And in that, in noticing tension, you might find tension falls away. Sometimes it just needs to be noticed. In noticing your breathing is irregular, erratic, perhaps you can smooth it out, perhaps you can slow it down, perhaps you can deepen it a little. And in being present, returning to presence, forgetting the goal, but remembering the present moment, paradoxically we also reach our goal. So long as we put the goal outside of ourselves, away from ourselves, in some other space, in some other place, then we're always going to be lacking. It's like the way holidays are sold to us. They're all sold on the premise that somewhere else is better than here. If you didn't fall for it, you wouldn't feel the need to go away. You might go away as part of what you do, but there wouldn't be the need to do so. So some other time, some other place. This is often how the world functions. We're trying to get somewhere all the time. Everyone's rushing to the next place. And when we forget to just be here, there's no opportunity to flower, to unfold, to reveal to ourselves our essence within. Because so long as we're rushing from A to B, we're in these separate shells that we're just sort of transient pieces moving from bit to bit, from place to place. So I wrote down a few things that sort of gave birth to what I just said. yeah, where do you want to be? Like I mentioned this in the last video. You've got to think about where you want to be in time and space, or in unity. Time and space is always lacking of its own if it's disconnected from the broader unity. And unity always is as it is, which is beautiful, which is peace, which is your true nature. And coming to that true nature, you might find you want to express it, and then time and space is of value because it's connected to the source. So where do you want to be? This question, we've got to start with where we're at. You've got to start with where you are. You know, if you want to be somewhere, and think about how it is to get to that place through the present moment, because we never get anywhere else. every journey we take is through the present moment, and we are always that wherever we go, whether we're at the station, on the train, at our destination. Every stage of that journey is in the present moment, just as pure consciousness is in every expression in the world and can be accessed with a mind of pure consciousness. So again, this is spiritual development. It's clearing our distortions, clearing our habitual patterns of thinking about ourselves and the world in order to see clearly. It's like often we're looking through a dirty window, complaining at the world outside, but it's not the world outside, it's the window. And this is the mind, this is the filter that we put across the mind. So we're clearing that filter. We're becoming clear, and in becoming clear, we're becoming who we are. And becoming who we are, we fulfill consciousness, life, love, God, spirit. It's all just a play of spirit, in and out of form, revealing itself, hiding itself, revealing itself once more. So I've written, noticing what's here is aligning with presence. Noticing what's here is aligning with presence, and presence is your true nature. Noticing what's here is aligning with presence. And presence is what you are in your ultimate essence. So to be what you are, you have to see what you are, which means being here and now. And being here and now is the simplest thing in the world, but how difficult it's become for us to stop and to be present, and in stopping to be fully alive, because we feel life is outside, we feel activities are what sustain our life. We feel, I'm not saying you don't have to go to the shop and get some food, I'm not saying you don't have to go to work and earn some money, but on a deeper level, once your survival, all those things I just mentioned, is catered for, then there's nowhere you need to go and nothing you need to do. It's just a case of being present. And you don't even need silence to be present, because presence isn't always how you want it to be. Presence can be in any situation, whether beauty or panic, it's like you can be present in any situation. And that's the practice. That is spiritual practice in a nutshell. Presence, living from that point of centre, looking out from presence, looking out from that point of presence that you are in essence. It's a reality, it's the reality. People might often say to so-called spiritual people, "Oh, live in the real world." But what is the real world? The real world is as real as the reality we bring to it. Each one of us chooses through our actions and our approach to the present moment what reality constitutes. So reality is an essence, and it's expressed in a variety of different ways. And because presence is essence, because in being here and now we connect with what is prior to form that is born of it. You know, like in silence, there is essence. And in words, it's like we're giving that essence a form. So yeah, because presence is essence, and the essence is the timeless light that I mentioned before. So like that timeless light that we're all born from, all consciousness, all being, all awareness, essence, presence, timelessness. Eternity. Timelessness and eternity. It's independent of time. Essence is independent of time. Because that's the case. What you choose is what you choose for your essence. What you choose is the expression you want your essence to take. What you choose is what you choose for eternity. And this is where our own understanding of religious scriptures has failed us, and we've neglected scriptures instead of working on our own understanding, because what you choose now, you choose for eternity. It sounds like some kind of, like heaven and hell damnation type thing. That if you live in a negative way, now you're going to end up negative on and on and on in time forever, it's like, but this is the thing. Eternity is, we only see eternity as stretching on and on forever if our minds are locked in time and space, if there's no understanding of spirit, and all we are using to understand reality is a fragmented sense of self, where time and space are the only things we can comprehend. Eternity is not time that goes on forever. It's not time that goes on endlessly. Eternity is the absence of time. Okay, so eternity is the absence of time. Eternity is the absence of time. And the absence of time is the present moment. So what we choose in the present moment, we choose for eternity. Because the present moment is eternity. What we choose now is all there is, because now is all there is. So it's not like some distorted dream where time extends forever and you get that. Time extends endlessly and you get that endlessly. No. All it is saying is there is no reality other than the present moment, what you are choosing now in this present moment. And we choose forever. And again, this statement, does that mean we choose endlessly in time? It might do. Until we realise that we are beyond time, and what we are is forever, what we are is eternity, what we are is presence, what we are is spirit. We choose forever. We choose for spirit. We are spirit choosing through our own agency what we want to be. We live what we want to be. We are spirit, all consciousness, deciding what it is and what it isn't. And what we become in the world is our version of consciousness. And whether we like it or not, that is the case. And whether we like it or not, the very way we are is a necessary strand to the whole. Because in a mind that understands time and space, a mind that understands in terms of time and space, may feel, oh, it's all about me, I need to change my life, I need to make it better. But a mind that sees beyond time and space knows that it has choices based on the present moment, but also knows that the way it's lived and the way it's living is exactly as it needs to be for that broader picture, spirit, to be fulfilled. Because spirit needs to express itself in all different aspects, from pure light to the absence of light, and everything in between, in order to have full knowledge of what it is. And this is what I'm going to talk about in the next video, a way of seeing how spirit experiences itself through matter and through us. But what is us? Is it just a matter? Or is it the spirit? So all there is now, here we are, and here we choose. What do you want to be? And what you want to be, if you know how it works, is what you are. And what you are is what you want to be. Because you are consciousness choosing. And there is no constraint other than what you put on consciousness, which is the product of all your past experiences. Whether you believe it's just this life or a whole string of lifetimes before this. All your past experiences create impressions through which you understand the world and you understand life. And this is what I mean by we see at our level of understanding. And we understand at that level of consciousness. It's like we might watch documentaries or read books or interact with people in order to learn. But we don't just interact with any old group of people for learning or read any old book or watch any old documentary. We all have our preference, and our preferences are our own direction of learning. And what we learn in one sense is what we already know. It's like what we, because we can't understand anything if we do not already have some level of knowledge of it. At least like a little grasp on that knowledge. It's like you can't appreciate elaborate words if you don't have some understanding of, like an elaborate poem. You can't appreciate it if you don't have some understanding of the words, and you can't appreciate the words if you don't have some understanding of the thoughts and feelings that go into those words. It's like true art is based on a feeling, or the way I see art is like it's creating a feeling which perhaps challenges us or makes us think in a different way. But true art is art that points back to spirit, or points us back to the spirit we are. Otherwise it's just continuing the fragmentation and breaking us apart. So noticing what's here is aligning with presence. And what you choose for eternity. Presence is here and now, eternity is here and now, the absence of time and space matrix. And we are choosing the course of eternity. We are choosing where eternity, where timelessness, where presence takes itself. It's like we are all, like I said in a previous video, we are all each one of us is an eye of consciousness. It's presence seeing through us into the time and space world, which we can be present to, thus keeping our connection to presence. So it's like each person is an eye of consciousness, looking into the world, into itself, because the world is just the expression of consciousness at a denser level. Yeah. And a thought came to me today, like we are the masks and the eyes, because often we obscure the fact that, to ourselves, we obscure the fact that we are consciousness. We mask it, and we kind of pretend we are something else, and that pretending we are something else enables us to have the experience of something else. You know? Apocalypse means to remove the mask. It doesn't mean the end of the world in physical terms. It means the end of the world in terms of the end of time and space, the end of the hold that time and space has over your consciousness, over your identification with it. So the apocalypse is the removal of the mask. It is seeing clearly. It's seeing beyond the person, the persona. That is the mask. And this is what we're locked in the world. Even in legal terms, all statutes and legislation refers to the person. It's not you as an essence. So remember that you have more authority than a statute, than legislation. The only law that you need to abide by is natural law. Yeah. Human beings are second only to God, and we are one with God. There's God, human beings, government, person. You know, so if we think we're a person, we're subject to imposters, we're subject to authority that wedges itself between us and divinity. Whereas if we know our divinity, we know that that is the only authority. Divinity. Because that's all there is. And anyone who claims otherwise is hoodwinking you. So yeah, consciousness plays itself out through masks and eyes. We sometimes cover up the fact that we're consciousness. We pretend to ourselves and each other that we are not. We pretend that we are just limited, you know. We pretend that we are just limited, and in doing so we can have an experience of consciousness without even having to know that it's consciousness. But as we shed the mask through our learning, through understanding, which we don't even have to be conscious of that is a spiritual process, which it is a spiritual process. The whole world is a spiritual process. We shed our personal identifications and become an eye of consciousness, which is, we're always an eye of consciousness, but we become conscious of the fact that we are an eye of consciousness looking in on who we are. That's it.